Oh, well, I was saying, yes, he was here.
Councilman Barkeretta.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rich.
Here.
Mayor Lund.
Here.
Okay. All right, move on to number 2, public comments on items that are not on the agenda. If anybody has anything they'd like to come up and approach the council.
Joey.
And these are items that are not related to what's on the agenda, so we cannot take action.
Jolene Nicosio, 181 Lang Street. A couple of us had a meeting with Mary Gilbert from Gov about the safety issues on 101, and it was a very good meeting. 156, excuse me. Thank you, I should have had you do it, John. It was John and Eric that were at the meeting with me, but in addition to talking about safety issues and taking a really fun walk across 156 to see if we could do it in the allotted 40 seconds, and there was another gal, Vanessa, there, she had on high heels. We made it in 39 seconds each direction. We couldn't do it any faster than that with 4 of us crossing the street, so it's very tight. And so it was good to get Mary in on that. But the other thing that we discussed, because she was talking about a Caltrans grant for the safety study for the resolution that San Juan passed to try to get some traffic calming measures. And she said, well, what about the park trail that the city is looking into? And I said, well, it's not really the city. There's a committee working on it. And she said, well, you know, they really ought to have a letter from the city in case they go after grants supporting the trail. And so I said, well, that's a good idea. And I failed to get down to City Hall in time to request that before this meeting, but I talked with some of the people who were on the committee for that, and they're definitely on board. They would like to have a letter from both the school board and the city, assuming that you do support the trail in the soccer field. So it would be nice to have a letter from the city supporting that.
Okay, thank you.
To help them with grants.
Do we have any more speaker cards? That is it? I think we have one more arrival. Go ahead, come on up.
Okay, my name is Suzanne Rogers. I live at 101 Lane Court. I've been a resident here in San Juan Bautista with my family. I have a husband and 2 kids. We live in a small subdivision on the other side of the highway, Lane Court, Lane. And we are right against the sound wall. When we moved into our house, May of 2013, we discovered what looked like the top of a cement pipe protruding out of the ground in our backyard. We called the city, notified them of the pipe. Joe and Roger came out and saw the pipe. That was March of 2014. We were told there would be a proposal about that in the next few weeks or so, fixing the pipe. The pipe is in fact the storm drain that is in the cul-de-sac we live in. So all the water from the storm drain has been emptying into our backyard. The land against the sound wall has been eroded over many years, finally unearthing this unfinished pipe that should have been flowing to either a wastewater treatment facility. On the storm drain, in fact, it does say no dumping flows directly to the river. This was brought to the city's attention in March 2014. I have called every month since then, and I have gotten no solution so far. I have left messages and emailed, and I have never gotten a response. This last winter, when we did finally get some rain, we did have a river running on the side of the sound wall, and the bottom third of our property was flooded. We also live by a sewage pump. I'm told that by the neighbors that the sewage pump has in fact overflowed, and gallons of the sewage was floating in the street. The city had hosed the sewage down the storm drain by our house, which in turn flowed down into the soil of our backyard. We are concerned for the contamination of our soil and for our children. I please ask you, the council, to help us get this problem fixed. We've been very patient. It has now been over a year. The pipe, as of now, is almost full of debris and leaves, and we're hoping it doesn't back up and flood the cul-de-sac. And all we are asking is for you to please fix this problem, and I thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Roger can respond to that.
Can't really respond. We can
not supposed to.
Yeah. Actually,
You can agendize it.
yeah, pretty agendized, but we should put it on, want to put it on for a future agenda? Or do you want to just conference it?
We'll agendize it, yeah, we're aware of it.
Okay.
That would be good.
Put that on the agenda. All right, we'll move on to number 3, consent items. Approve affidavit of posting of hearing notice. Anybody like to make a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will go on to B, waive reading of ordinance and resolution on tonight's agenda beyond title.
Mike?
So moved.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Your mic's not on.
How's that better?
Okay.
All right.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Bach,
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ridge,
Aye.
Mayor Lund.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated to be heard passes unanimously.
Okay. You get to resolution 3C. Next we see approved resolution 2015, and do we have a number?
Excuse me, we can take all the consent items as one motion.
One motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you
Unless
have
you wanted to
something
pull
to
some. I do. I have a suggested change on this item. On the street
Amendment to the
closures.
resolution?
Pardon me?
Amendment to the resolution?
Yes. The resolution, I believe, calls for a 4 p.m. end to the closure for the antique fair, and I would suggest that that should be 6 p.m. I spoke to Jill Ortiz, who runs the event, and she agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't get it cleaned up.
Okay.
So are we on item C, or are we going to adopt?
The only thing we can do now is,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with correction or amendment.
I want to pull D. But if you want to make a motion
Then we'll just
to
wait.
approve, no, if you want to approve everything but, we're on C, right? Approve everything but C and D and A and B, because we approved them already.
I'd make that motion.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Right.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Martirana,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ridge,
Aye.
Mayor Lund.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
So now we're going to pull, we're going to go to D.
Yeah. So we changed it to 6 p.m. on C. Okay, so on D, that's the minutes of last month's meeting. Page 5, last item at the bottom of the page says Mayor Lund closed the public hearing. And top of the next page, Mayor Lund closed the public hearing. Top of the next page, Grimsley present, so that's incomplete. We just need to flesh that out a little bit. The same thing with the last page, item A. Need to flesh that out. There's notations, but it's not stated clearly what happened. You following me? Okay, so
We're under comments, right?
are we on
your
the last one? Yeah, under comments, item A, last line.
Leak detection, conservation, marine life ordinance.
Yeah, it just needs to be, a few more words in there to state more
This is
clearly.
3D, page 8.
Yeah, page 8.
Yeah, so there's 3 pages involved, 5, 6, 7, and 8, that's 4.
Okay.
Anybody else on the minutes?
No, sir.
Jim? Okay.
Thank you.
So we'll make a motion to pass the minutes with those 3 changes.
Make a motion to pass the consent agenda, items C and D. Right?
Yeah.
with corrections.
No, we did see, didn't we?
No, we didn't vote on it.
We didn't vote on it?
We pulled it, so
Oh,
we did
okay.
not vote on it.
Okay, I'll second that, C and D.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Aye.
Councilmember Martorana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rivers?
Aye.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Now we're done with 3.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along. Presentations, informational items, and reports.
Excuse me, Mayor, before we
Yes.
leave 3, what are the resolution numbers?
Yeah.
Huh?
16
16,
and 17
17, and then there's an 18 and a half?
and 18.
18 on for
That
F.
is 18.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Thank you.
Ready to move on? Okay, we'll move to item 4, presentations, informational items, and reports. The first one I have is going to be a proclamation for the San Benito Health Foundation. We have a proclamation here. This is their 40th anniversary. And I think we have Margaret Muniz is going to come up. How you doing? Good, good. So I have a proclamation. I'll read it up here too, and then I'll bring it down and present it to you. It says, where the San Benito Health Foundation began providing health care services to underserved population in the San Benito 40 years ago on May 17, 1975 at 930 Monterey Street. And whereas the community activist Leo Hernandez and others understood that there was a need for a larger facility where the services could be offered to the uninsured in San Benito County. And whereas grants and funding were pulled together to construct a facility at 351 Felice Drive in Hollister. And additional healthcare services were made available when they opened their doors in 1993. And whereas since that time, services at the San Benito Health Foundation have grown to include medical, dental, behavioral health, and optometry. Sorry about that. Social services, case management, WIC, breastfeeding support, a mobile clinic offering medical and dental services. And whereas presently in the San Benito Health Foundation community, clinic provides services to 8,000 patients annually. And whereas the San Benito Health Foundation WIC office has extended services to other locations, including the San Benito Health and Human Services Office and in San Juan Bautista. And therefore, the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista hereby honors the San Benito Health Foundation for their 40 continuous years of providing health care and ancillary services to the residents of San Benito County.
Proclamation, I just wanted to, in addition to what Mayor Lund mentioned, I do have flyers that gives more details of the event. It's going to be May 20th from 2 to 6. Our mobile is going to be there, and we just hope everyone comes.
I had no idea it's been 40 years.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The next proclamation will be for Water Awareness Month. Sean Novak, is he in? Is he coming?
He was going to be at a Sunny Slope Water District meeting first and then come here, and he said
Okay.
he can just do it later when we do the other water stuff. If
All
he's
right,
gonna.
we'll do that too. Okay, so we'll move that for later. And third, financial statements. Is that the only proclamation?
Yeah, another C.
Okay. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move E in front of C so that I can have Battalion Chief Perez give his report. Can I do that one now, or
I think.
Roger? Can I pull E and 4C?
Yes, sure,
Okay.
yes.
So we're gonna move to item E for the fire chief's report.
That's it.
E is the sheriff's report.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, Sean's going to walk in a minute.
No, it's E right here. It says fire chief on E.
I think you've got.
You might have
Not the latest.
Yeah.
a previous
See, I
version
knew we
of
would
Okay,
it.
item F. This is the one. This is the updated one I just got too.
There's probably one on the desk.
There was one on the desk, yeah,
Use that one.
under your stuff.
All right, I'll move to item F. And we'll get the fire chief's report.
Like I said, I'm glad you're back.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Leo Alvarez. I'm the division chief for Hollister Fire Department, and I'm glad to be here. What I had was a short report on what's been going on with your department, our department. I understand that you have not received the report since January, so I've provided some numbers. Hopefully you have them. I have a total calls, and then they're broken down by individual addresses and type of calls, and with corresponding dates. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So from January to present, we've in out of station number 4, San Juan Bautista, we have responded to 94 calls, and from March to present day, we have around 30 calls. Now, that's a combination of, there's a simple sheet that identifies medical assist, vehicle accidents, and so forth. So again, if you have any questions, please ask.
Okay.
In the area of training, we have a yearly scheduled training that we do, which has a minimum of 8 hours. We always do additional training, but we did meet our 8-hour minimum for the month, and as well as from January to present. In the area of vehicle maintenance, no significant breakdowns. We have a good program where our vehicles are inspected daily, and they're maintained on a quarterly basis as far as any routine tires, replacements, and fluids being changed. I have 3 calls that are significant within this past month. Structure fire on Larios, 350 Larios. This was came in as a house fire, and when we arrived, it turned out to be an additional structure that was connected, which was a large carport. We had a quick response because we've upgraded our staffing here now, where we have full-time personnel 24/7. Previously, we used to have a full-time captain for 8 hours out of the day, and then it would be staffed with 2 reserves, or 1 full-time and 1 reserve. The reserve situation is when it's an open book. They can sign up any day of the month, and we utilize them as they signed up. So, vegetation fire on the 4th of this month on Lang Street has approximately 1.5 acres to 2 acres. Again, it was a quick stop because of our staffing here that we had. We had 3 staffing at Station 4 that day. And you may have heard of a big rig fire we had on 101 on the Beta Bell exit. This turned out to be a load of bananas. But the fire actually started on the cab area, on the cargo area. It was some kind of a brake failure, and it caused a fire. So again, that response was quickly mitigated by Station 4 personnel, and we always have additional fire engines coming from Fire Station 1.
Okay.
Is there any questions?
Chris?
Just maybe an odd question. What's a public service call?
Public service call is a common request from the public. Disabled people fall out of bed and they need assistance. It's not a medical emergency, but they call us to help. And we've been doing this for years.
Sure.
A water leak that, let's say a single elderly can't handle, and we'll come and shut water. We do basic stuff like that. Shut the water off and call plumbers for them. A smoke detector that's beeping, and we need some battery. We supply them with a new detector. We stock them, or we'll simply change the battery for them. So pretty much anything you can think of, we'll do.
Thank you.
Okay. Any others?
That should be it. Anybody else? All right, well, thank you for coming up.
Thank you very much.
Sean's
So
here.
since I know, oh, he's here now?
Yeah.
Okay. So on this, I thought I had,
Is it under
must-
your stuff over there, or?
I thought I had, because I took the other one out and I changed it. But I think there's 3 floating around.
Yeah, there are 3.
Yeah.
There's 3. Okay,
Yeah.
so I got number
This
2.
is Trish's idea of a joke.
Thanks, Trish.
April Fool.
Out of everything on the order for that agenda, okay, so F was the prior, so is this one?
Yeah, I think Church Animal already was the
Okay.
last one added.
Yeah, because we also have the other one was the other proclamation, and that was probably moved in on that one. Okay, so,
You're going to go back to B?
huh?
Are you going back to B?
Yeah, I'm going to go back. Yeah, going back to B, I want to make sure I got my right one here. Okay, so we'll move to item B here. Proclamation for Water Awareness Month. Sean Novak, Water Resources Association. How you doing? Thank you for coming.
Good evening, board members. It's kind of redundant to call May as Water Awareness Month, because if you lived in California at all and you don't know there's a water emergency, there's something wrong. So it should be the year of water awareness. But the reason we choose May is normally, this is the start of our irrigation season. And in residential water use, over 50% of water is used for landscape purposes. So that's why we really stress water awareness this time of year. The new restrictions in place, hopefully they'll be in place, that will help our efforts. But that's why we look at outside landscapes, because it does use so much water and it's something that you can control. Because we find it in that 50% that water use out in the landscapes, we see almost 50% of that wasted due to improper irrigation scheduling, faulty equipment, or just unawareness. So we can see some real gains there. So without further ado, let me do the resolution. Whereas California's arid and semi-arid climate, its ambitious and evolving economy, and its continually growing population have combined to make shortages and conflicting demands the norm for water. Whereas the rising concern of climate change could limit the state and federal government's water infrastructure due to less snowpack, and whereas the health, welfare, and quality for our community depends on a reliable, high-quality water supply, and whereas the need to develop a diverse portfolio approach to water supply reliability that includes a balanced combination of conservation, water reuse, and new supplies is critical to our region's future. And whereas municipal agencies and governments continue to seek cost-effective and efficient systems to obtain and deliver water to meet the needs of residents, agriculture, and the economy. And whereas the state, county, cities, and concerned citizens make strong efforts to foster wise decisions concerning water issues and water use. And whereas home water use and wastewater production can be significantly reduced by finding and repairing leaks, replacing inefficient toilets, washing machines, water softeners, and adopting personal water conserving practices. And whereas the fact that California will experience periodic droughts and water conservation is critical not only during drought periods but at all times. Let me stress that, because we're kind of in a new world of water here, between the climate change being a scientific fact now, and our state continues to grow in population, and water is a finite resource. Whereas landscape irrigation makes up over half of home water use, a percentage that can be significantly reduced by adjusting and monitoring irrigation systems and adopting water-efficient landscaping and gardening practices. And whereas the City of San Juan Bautista, along with local governments and water agencies, are working to provide residents with cost-effective means to reduce water use and the degradation of our water supply from water softener salts. And whereas during May 2015, the City of San Juan Bautista is inviting everyone to find out ways to save water, both at work and at home. Now, therefore, the City of San Juan Bautista does proclaim May 2015 as Water Awareness Month and urge all citizens, businesses, industries, institutions, and public agencies to review their water use and water systems for water use efficiency and to contact their water supplier for water-saving ideas and assistance. And I just want to say, you know, we're standing by to help people. I really recommend that all the people in San Juan Bautista call my agency and do what we call our home water survey. And what we do there is we go into your house, we look for leaks. If it's something minor, we do find a leak, we'll try to fix it for you, like a toilet flapper that might have worn out. We'll also put on low-flow shower heads and faucet aerators, give you a hose nozzle to use outside, because you'll see some of these restrictions, like when you're washing your car, you have to have a shut-off device. We can give you that for free, and then see what rebates might be applicable to your particular situation. We look at your landscape irrigation equipment. We make minor adjustments, like if the sprinkler heads are pointed on the sidewalks or driveways, we'll point them back onto the landscape, and then do an irrigation schedule for you as well. And if you do have a water softener, we like to check that to make sure that's set properly, because not only will it use more salt if it's improperly set, it'll also use more water. So with all those things combined, we have a nice portfolio of programs that can help people reduce their water use. And that's one thing I want to stress too. San Juan's done a really good job. Our county guys have really stepped up to the plate. And with the new restriction, there's some confusion about what we're comparing that against. And the state has called for 2013 consumption. So if you conserved 20% last year at home, you just need to crank it up like 5% more. So it's not like 45%, it's 25%. So that I want to make that clear, and I think we can get there if we watch what we're doing in our landscapes. So thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to a proclamation honoring Peak Day. If Tribuna would like to come up. Thank you for coming. Would you like me to read the proclamation for you?
You can if you wish. I know it's long. Sometimes Tony gets bored.
Sometimes.
What is this, pick on Tony Day or something?
Well, that's always
I'm old, I fall asleep. I'm historical, as my wife said.
Fremont Peak Day Proclamation, April 26, 2015. Whereas John Charles Fremont, on March 4th, 1846, raised the American flag over the Gablin Mountains above San Juan in defiance of an order by General Castro to leave Alta, California. And whereas the Fremont Memorial Organization in 1906 utilized the event on the plaza in San Juan, commemorating John Charles Fremont, who was California's first senator. And whereas the Native Daughters of the Golden West marks 2015 as the 105th time the San Juan Bautista Parlor number 170 members have commemorated the flag raising by General Fremont, who became California's first senator. And whereas the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 6359 marks 2015 as its 65th anniversary of Loyalty Day by parading the colors of the post in this Monterey Bay, visible from Fremont Peak State Park, to honor the service of the military of the United States. And whereas Bob Borchard marks 2015 as his 50th year playing the Star Spangled Banner on his trumpet, calling all of us to attention at 12 noon as the flag is unflurried, and whereas scouts from Troop 428
who have traditionally run the flag up the pole marks 2015 to honor the sponsorship of the San Juan Service Club and celebrate General Fremont, who sought the presidency of the United States as an anti-slavery candidate. And whereas the San Juan Bautista State Historic Parks marks 2015 as its 84th anniversary of equestrian of the park for $6,000. And whereas the San Juan Bautista City Council marks 2015 as the year that it celebrates the volunteers from all of the city's organizations who have made this trip to Peak Day in the weather and by any means, beginning on foot and horseback in 1918. Now therefore, be it resolved that April 26, 2015 is declared Fremont Peak Day by the City of History, San Juan Bautista in San Benito County, California. Bring that down to you.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of all of the people that we mentioned who have sponsored, almost every organization in San Juan Bautista has been a sponsor of Peak Day on and off, starting, I believe, with the firemen way back over 100 years ago. So it's very important to celebrate Peak Day. It's free to the public. The state doesn't have any charge that's there that day. That's one issue. The other issue is that thank you for taking time to do these proclamations. I learned so much today about what's going on in my county. And the water issue is so thank you very much for doing this. Thank you. Signed by you. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a long one.
Yeah.
Think twice about that next time, huh? Is Chuck in the audience, or do you want to?
No, Chuck is athletic competition tonight in wrestling. So.
Okay. Do you want to do a financial statement?
Yeah, just kind of summarize, we're kind of in the general fund balance. We're a little bit down. We can kind of blame that because, there's a certain period where funds come in, particularly on our property tax and then secured property tax. And most of that will come in after April the 10th here, the completion. So it shows a negative of about 137. And then the enterprise as well, our revenues are down, and we're down about $90,000. However, going down into the expenditures, we anticipate the decline because of the water conservation issues. And what we do is we're deferring any major capital expenditures so that we kind of balance that off. And you'll see on the second page where we have the enterprise fund revenues versus the expenditures. The expenditures were lower than we budgeted by 116. Trying to balance those needs off. Basically, the general fund, the expenditures were higher by $42,000. Again, it results in some, I think Wendy said contract expenses, but there were some major equipment repairs that we had on some vehicles, as well as a tree down in the Rudy Park. We had to spring and have that thing cut down because it was ready to collapse. These are really things that we didn't anticipate, but again, we try to go into the general fund and balance our capital expenditures in those accounts, particularly in the street and buildings and grounds, and kind of defer them later on to the last part of the quarter of the fiscal year. Let's see, enterprise revenue I touched on, and enterprise fund expense. We're a little bit down on the expense, and again, we'll take a look at how our water conservation is doing and how that is, and then again, we're just going to defer some of the capital improvement programs that we've had earmarked during this fiscal year and kick them back into the next fiscal year. Any questions?
Yeah, do you want
Last month, we got like a spreadsheet showing like the impact fund or payments going in, but we didn't get that. Is it going to do that every month or every quarter? Or?
Every quarter, because we haven't issued any building permits this last month, so.
Oh, okay.
So we haven't recorded any impact fees.
any questions on warrants?
I didn't have a question about the report. I was just curious what weight class Chuck wrestles in, if he's at a wrestling event. No?
He's just about finished. This is the last tournament, and then the school year will be ending shortly, and then he'll be able to attend.
He took that as a serious question.
Yeah. We have one written out to Avaya. What's Avaya?
Phone.
You're on the awards?
Phone
Is
service.
that a phone
That's our
service?
telephone system.
Okay. And our Cal Poly Corporation, was that our final payment?
Cal Poly?
Cal Poly Corporation?
Yeah, that's part of the general fund expenditures, yeah.
Okay.
I think Matt just informed me that they submitted the EIR, the final draft.
Very good. So that went in this morning? Anybody else?
We're going to be editing it this week, and then they're going to try to submit it next Friday to State Clearinghouse. So that's the short-term timeline on that.
Okay.
The San Juan Bautista Committee?
This was during the interim when they pulled from San Benito County Chamber. They had funds of about $4,000 to $5,000, and they needed a place to park it. So we put it into a designated account until they got their nonprofit and their banking account set up. And now I'm reimbursing them back to that.
Great.
So it was strictly because they're our advertising bureau, and I felt I was only obligated is just to just put it in one of our secured accounts.
Sure.
And let's see, again, the Wells Fargo, that's the major debt reduction that was 208 COP loan program. And right behind it is the fire contract for the city of Hollister.
Anybody with any more questions for that? Okay. Let's see, we have the sheriff's here, so we'll skip over the sheriff's report. Were we submitted with anything with the sheriff's report?
I think that's what this is, isn't it? Is that the sheriff's report?
Is this the new one?
Yeah.
Well, we got the numbers, not much we can ask them about. Any comments on the sheriff's report? Tim? No. Okay. All right, move along to library report. Do we have anything for the library to report?
Again, pretty much consistent. They tabulated through March 15th, and it's pretty normal.
Okay. All right, move down to G, administrative reports.
Okay, Public Works, the crew's been working, to do the striping, and we're making some headway on some of the crosswalks and stuff like that. We've had an employee that was part of a work program, and because we've lost one of our maintenance workers, we've hired a part-time worker working 4 hours a day, Alvin, and we've assigned them to the Verudi Park and the Lux Library to maintain the buildings and grounds. It's working out. We started them out at a minimum of a per hour rate and everything, and since then Armand has left us, and so we've held the interviews today, and we're going to fill that position shortly.
Okay, great.
Let's see, the monitoring of the groundwater, again, the nitrates of well number 2 kind of elevated, and we were up about 39. We monitored it for the last 2 weeks, and it's dropped down to 34 and 33, and the reservoir's at 27 now. So it seemed like it's coming down, but for some reason there was just a spike about a month ago that came up, and we've now begun to utilize well number 1 and 2 concurrently.
Okay, great.
Code enforcement, we've lost Matt, and he has left, but we still sent out a lot of notices to the various property owners for weed abatement, and we're going to follow it through. And incidentally, we have interviewed for a replacement for Matt, and we've looked at an employee that works for Porterville, and he looked high on there. And we're doing the research now, and if it proves that worthy, we'll be offering him the position. So
Or otherwise, Matt can't go.
we're going to chain him down to the desk.
Anything else?
In the planning report, I just kind of give you an idea. Matt has been instrumental in a lot of issues, and we hate to lose him, but I just put down a lot of the projects that he's been working on, and he's been a very asset to the city here in a number of ways, and then his knowledge in water is, without question, really an asset. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. 2 questions, right? When they were doing the striping, Joe said you didn't have a thing for the stop signs, decal or whatever you call it.
We have the
template.
Letters STOP, and we have H and A, EAD, and I ordered about a year ago certain letters that would give us stop ahead, but we still don't have the full complement of all of the things that we need,
Yeah. No, because he was doing the bar thing, but then he couldn't do the stop on the pavement because he didn't have a template for it.
Yeah,
At least that's what he told me.
We have them rolled up, and they're in the storage yard. Yeah. I think what the disadvantage is that they don't have a rack to store them on when they're out there, and they're very hard to manage and stuff like that. Let's see if we can get some type of a rack to put it on so we keep them right with the paint rig.
And the other question I had was, I saw the city equipment mowing the field by the gas station, Valero station. Are they paying us for that?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
That's it? All right, anybody else? Any questions? On that template for the stop signs and stuff like, what's the size? Do they have a minimum size of what that's supposed to be?
The standard Caltrans and state standard is 8 foot long, and the width and everything.
So would a 4x8 sheet template, would that make it?
Yeah, but normally we don't use plywood because they're a little bit heavy and bulky and everything.
I was actually thinking
There's
maybe
two forms. There's a poly liner, and then there is an aluminum liner. Aluminum's a little bit more expensive,
I think something probably look into. I think we might be able to fab something up for that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be too bad. Okay, that's all on the reports from administrative. We'll go to H here on public meetings and city council committee reports. I'll start with you, Chris.
The AMBAG meeting, there were a couple of major upcoming issues that are starting to show up on the radar. The 2014 draft California Transportation Plan has been released, and they're going to start public comment on that. And related to that is transportation funding challenges and alternatives to the gas tax that they are beginning to explore, which will affect us all, and with the in hopes of creating additional revenue with the increased mileage of vehicles. They've seen a huge drop in the gas tax for road maintenance, and so they're looking, of course, for alternatives. One of the things I think they're contemplating is a use fee that is directly related to mileage driven as opposed to a gas tax. So
We just can't win.
no. But those are the two big initiatives that are upcoming for AMBAG. And I did not go to the last intergovernmental council. I'll leave that to you.
Okay, COG. Number one, COG is, the staff is preparing a grant application to pay for a study on 156 for San Juan for traffic calming at Monterey Street and the Alameda. And presuming that we get the grant, then they'll do the study and then have to come up with a plan of improvements, what it is we want to do. And that'll be between COG, Caltrans, and San Juan. We'll have to have some kind of a committee meeting or something, and first of all, figure out where we can get some money to do anything. They estimate the cost just of the study to be between $100,000 and $175,000. So,
For something we could have probably already told them.
right. Okay, and then the other thing was interesting, and we're probably going to have to do something with it. COG paid for a survey for a sales tax initiative to go on a ballot. And the way the survey was worded, if there was strong support if the increase in sales tax went to road or street improvements, traffic, anything like that. If you took away that or made that a secondary thing, then the support really fell off. So apparently there's a lot of support from the taxpayers in San Benito County for, they used 0.5% sales tax increase if it goes to fixing roads. My comment, and also Anthony Botello's comment on this whole thing was, we would have to do a survey. Like San Juan would have to look at all their streets and say, okay, this one needs fixing, this one doesn't, and kind of estimate what the costs are going to be. Hollister has to do the same thing, and the county has to do the same thing. To me, that's the only way that you could possibly sell a sales tax increase is they're going to ask all the city council or the city councils and board of supervisors to endorse this. And like I said, Anthony and I both came up with the same thing. Wait a minute. I'm not going to endorse anything until I find out where's that money going to go. In other words, even on the COG board, there's a lack of trust of the politicians. And so that'll be coming in probably within a couple months. That's another thing. They have to determine what's the best time to put it on the ballot. Because there's a June election and a November election coming up in 2016. And, like I said, the COG paid for a study of that too. And whether or not you get a low turnout in June, is it a good idea to put a sales tax on then, or is it better to do it in November with the general election? That's, in the future. And I'm sorry, I said that that study would be, I misquoted that, $75,000 to $100,000 for the cost of the study.
That's for our study here.
Right. So that's and then as Jolene said, by the way, Caltrans says that 40 seconds is the maximum time they can allow for somebody to cross 156 at the Alameda. That's the maximum timing that they have for that. So I don't know what we're going to do there. So, I'm sorry?
Because of the type of intersection. that
Right,
it is.
yeah. At that intersection, 40 seconds is the limit. So get your track shoes on or drive your car across there.
Can I ask a question about that? What exactly is it about that intersection that there's a time limit on how long people are given to get across the intersection? Is it so busy that they don't want to disturb the traffic, and traffic is more important than pedestrians?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
That makes me sick.
Caltrans's main objective is to move vehicles. All right. And pedestrians, horses, and bicycles come last. And the way they designed that intersection at this point in time, and I really got on Caltrans about that part. I told them, the Caltrans guy was there, or two of them were there, and I said, hey, as far as the city of San Juan is concerned, they totally screwed up with the, from 101 to the Alameda. I mean, they wanted an expressway, freeway in there, and that's what they put in, but they didn't really think about some other things. And so, I don't know if it does any good or not, but you try to kind of throw the onus on them that, hey, maybe you guys ought to step in here and help us out a little bit.
I remember when they asked us what kind of a fence we wanted to divide the two directions, and we said a wooden fence, and we have a concrete fence.
Yeah.
It's Caltrans.
It's got a nice pattern in it.
Yeah. Concrete's good. Here we go.
Tony,
Yes.
in the 2040 draft transportation plan for the state, the first page is their vision statement or their mission statement, and the very first thing it says is safety is their number one concern. You might throw that back in there. That their draft for the future calls out safety as their number one priority.
Let me give you a little advice, and I learned this from Anthony Patello. Whatever Caltrans says, take it with a grain of salt. Anyways, that's my report.
That's all you had was COG?
One other little, you worked on a sales tax thing at one time, didn't you? I remember years ago.
Sales tax for the city?
Yeah. Anyhow, they came up with the number of a 0.5% increase in the sales tax would generate $3 million in the county. And I found that.
In the whole county?
Yeah, I found that. I didn't realize that you could get that much out of a 0.5%.
So that would be
It doesn't
300
generate very much here.
No.
Robert and I had this
And the
came
road
up
is
as-
Well, no, I know, but overall, in the and then see, if you did that traffic, sales tax based on transportation, then we would get a share based on population, just like we get the STIP fund.
Well, actually, we brought that up in the intergovernment meeting. Mary came in and did a presentation for that.
Okay.
And we were going, okay, we'll take a third.
Yeah, right, yeah. The two guys from Hollister started beating on me when we suggested that.
Well, what drives that is trying to fix 25. They want to make it 4 lanes.
Well,
But
It's never going to happen.
That's one of the things that, the 25. But
That money will go to
25, they're talking about, I couldn't believe the number, $350 million?
$350 million, yeah. And we can raise $3 million with tax.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a long winter.
So in 100 years, we'll have it.
Hey. Yeah.
Because we have no STIP funds to commit to it.
No, they
That's
won't.
all going to 156.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we'll shoot them through the valley, and then when they get to Union Road, they better put the brakes on.
That's it. Yeah. It makes a whole lot of sense.
Well, in long-term, Caltrans will build a freeway from Highway 1 to Highway 99. They'll get it in, sooner or later.
Oh, yeah.
Because the other great line from Caltrans is, we die and they don't.
Well, I have to admit that I didn't think this would ever happen in my lifetime. They say they're going to start now they're moving it out either 16 or 17, that they're going to start this.
156?
Yeah. So, if I can hang on, I may see it.
I think you're too ornery to go anywhere.
Yeah, you're not getting off that easy.
Any other meetings?
No.
That was it. Pretty much I had an intergovernment meeting. We talked about the COG and the percentage of the tax going through there. Nothing too much other to pertain to San Juan and the intergovernment. The other committee I had, it was the fire committee, and just pretty much brought up the reports like the fire chief's report, and that we'll be going to talk about negotiating. We'll be having a special meeting on the 30th at 8:30 in Hollister. We're probably going to have it at the county for negotiations on the next contract. The other one was Unified Monterey Bay air quality. It was my first meeting, and 5 minutes after I was into the first meeting there, I found out I was being sued for a vote that I didn't make. So, and we got to talk about union negotiations for their pay raise, and that's pretty much all that covered in that meeting there. But it was pretty good. Real neat building. Got the tour through there, and they have a kind of an earthquake settlement on it where the building is dropping in the middle of it, almost a total of 4 to 6 inches. And the floors are starting to, so they have a plan to fix all that and get the building under Monterey Bay air quality.
Is that the one that's in Watsonville?
No, this one's by the Laguna Seca. And that's all the reports I have.
LAFCO met. I attended the meeting. There was nothing on San Juan. And they're not meeting this month.
And I sat through Mary's same presentation at the Board of Supervisors today, and I don't think the tax is going to pass, because what we would put in as taxpayers and what we get out for our roads, we look at it, I don't think it's going to work.
Couldn't fill a pothole.
No, no. And they're going to use all that money as much as they can for 25.
Yeah,
well,
China.
Yeah, that's an iffy. 25 is not on a constrained list yet. So.
And it's, according to Anthony, it's not going back on the constraint.
Well, I guess we can call that one a wash then, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
I went to Arizona earlier this month. You haven't seen any better roads than that state has. There wasn't a bad road there. All the schools are nice and new and big. I don't know where they get their money from, but it's not gambling because it's not Nevada. I think it's more a question of where we spend our money, not where it comes from.
They have no Prop 13 and they have no EIR or no CEQA. That's where all the money goes.
You know, and Jaime de la Cruz's company does this. There's a stretch of road from Phoenix to Tucson. It is. It's the greatest thing he ever wrote on. I mean, it's made out of
rubber,
old tires.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Caltrans doesn't.
Caltrans is.
Well,
we have to put rubber into the asphalt now from now on.
What are the pros and cons for that?
It's expensive to put the hardware up. which just raises the price of the asphalt.
Yeah. All right, we'll move along to number 5,
Before we move on, we have a,
speaker card.
Oh.
I'll make it real quick.
3 minutes.
The neighborhood watch meeting
watch
did meet last Thursday. Maryland did attend. Thank you very much. We also had Deputy Tellez who joined us, and our topic was observation techniques, and we covered things of if you're calling in something, what to look for, how to describe persons, vehicles, the situation, things that would help them, and the deputy's assistants kind of help us along and what he would look for. There was one request that kind of came out of the group that they wanted me to bring in front of you, and that was to repaint some of the red curbs around stop signs and such, and reevaluate the sign or the spacing on those red curbs. I know 3rd Street between North and Donner, there's a red zone, and actually I had Mayor Lund drive up and witness a vehicle that had been parked there for hours in the red zone. I don't think they actually saw that it was a red zone, or maybe they didn't care, but there are some red zones that do need to be repainted, and there was just a request that we look at stop sign areas and the red zones that come around them. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other meetings?
You know, they got the Boy Scouts to do those red zones.
Yeah, we did that before the Boy Scouts. They had Roger, do you remember when the Boy Scouts did the zones?
It was a couple of months ago.
We've done it now for 3 straight years.
Is that just a one time a year that they do it? Or
Yeah.
couldn't bring him up again? Have him come early. Come to the podium.
One other intersection I've seen people have a lot of problems with the red curb is the fairly major intersection at 4th and Washington. You cannot tell, the site I noticed it on particularly because I saw somebody trying to back up and trying to figure out where the red was on the, would be on the, let's see, what would that be?
Going towards the windmill or away from the windmill?
Going towards the windmill on the right, you stop there.
Of 3rd.
Southwest.
I was going to come up
Southwest.
with what direction it was too. That would be west,
Southwest.
southwest corner, yeah. Anyway, you can't tell if it's red or not. It looks like there was a really long red strip once painted, and then it was painted over gray partially, and you can't tell how far from that intersection you're supposed to leave in front of the stop sign. So it's just another one, and there's several, and they're not generally in the residential neighborhoods, because those were painted by the Boy Scouts very well, but I think they didn't want the Boy Scouts to work in the more congested areas of 3rd and 4th Street, and there's some spots there that really need attention on the red curbs.
Okay. Maybe we can get a list of what we need, and we'll see if we can.
Yeah, we intentionally keep the Boy Scouts off of 4th and any street that's got
any of the
a lot of
dangerous
traffic.
Highly
We kind
traffic.
of reserve them to the
Sounds-
residential area.
Sounds like we need the neighborhood watch. We'll get out there and paint them.
I'm good.
I am. I'm in.
Did you guys get one person to stand there though? Because when they were doing the crosswalk in front of my house there, I couldn't believe the people that just drove right through there. I mean, like, you know, you're going, don't you see the guy standing there with a spray gun? You know? If I'd have been Joe, I'd have put a nice stretch on.
And then we'd be sued.
Yeah.
Thought we had a little higher standard we were supposed to, you were talking to me about.
Oh.
Okay, so we're done on all the committee reports and, okay. So we'll move along to number 5 for public hearing. Considering adopting ordinance 2015, which number you want me to put on that? 19? 17?
Because it's an ordinance, is it? Yeah, it's not a resolution.
Amending section 10.10 signs of Title 11 of the SJBMC, second reading and adoption. You have a motion for that? Or, oh, the ordinance doesn't use it. Yeah. Any public comment? Bring it back to staff. Any comments? Council?
Nope.
Looks like they did a really good job on it finally. Now the problem's going to be enforcing it. I'll move that we adopt ordinance number 2015, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista, amending section 11.10, signs of Title 11 of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code.
Second.
All in favor?
15 or 17?
17.
2015.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2015-17.
Who seconded it?
I get a second from Chris.
Chris.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Councilmember Bach.
Aye.
Councilmember Marshall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Roach.
Aye.
Mayor Lund.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor passes unanimously.
Okay, moving on to B. Consider ordinance 2015-18.
No, you would not establish it, an ordinance would be first introduction and reading by title only. Bob Fulton and his attorney, Mike Durkee, are in the audience.
Okay.
And I think it'd be appropriate to ask them to highlight the changes that, this is the amendment of the development agreement.
Okay, we'll have them come up.
Good evening, Bob Fulton with the Rancho Vista Project. Thank you for having us back in front of you again this month. As you know, at the last meeting, when you approved the development agreement, we came up with some items that we felt would improve it, and we spent a little time with city staff outlining those items that we listed at the last meeting, and that's what you have in front of you tonight. If you skip to section 2, which is where the changes are, Article 2, you'll see that these were the items we've changed from the previously approved development agreement. Item A says we're going to go consistent with the terms and conditions of the previous agreement. Item B was the sidewalks that we had discussed that needed to be improved within town. And you'll also notice that at the very end of that, we've added one more statement in there, which I would say is to the benefit of the city, is that those sidewalks will be done as we do the sidewalks in the first phase of the subdivision. Even though they are logically would have been in the very end of it, we'll do those at the very start, along with the first phase of sidewalks.
Oh, that's great.
Item C, we have adjusted it as street sweeping and street weight maintenance. So you'll notice that the amount of funds contributed into the maintenance district is it's now increased to a maximum of $450 per year to cover both street maintenance and street sweeping. D, we had all talked about construction hours previously, and this formalizes them that on Saturdays construction hours would be from the 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Item E, the same thing as far as days of the week and noises. Again, it limits it on Saturday from 9 to 4 p.m. And then the final one, item F, is the entry monument contribution. This was another voluntary contribution we have talked about through the length of the process of the project. The benefit is for you is that the number has gone from a $5,000 contribution up to $25,000, which we're going to contribute into the enterprise fund, and also ask that those monuments are created with help and input from the San Juan Committee as to the design and style for them. So this is what we had discussed at the last meeting, last council meeting, and obviously we've put some thought into it and added a few items that we think are to the benefit of the city. And told you we would be back with it right away. So If there are any questions, I'd be glad to either answer them or divert them to Mike Durkee. Thank you.
Jim? Chris?
Should I ask if the monument's going to be a statue of me?
You can ask.
Should we bronze you now?
Is there enough money to bronze me there?
Where would you like your statue, Tim?
On the $25,000 to the city of San Juan Bautista Enterprise Fund. Okay. And then from there, Roger will be able to divert that into what we want to use for that?
Yes.
Okay. You know what my vote is.
So the order would be is just to read by title only and introduce ordinance.
Do we, public
Okay,
comment?
so,
Public comments too.
anybody from the public? Any comment?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, John Freeman, 22 North Street. It's not really pertaining to what he just said. I think I agree with it all, and I'm glad it's going forward. But on his recreation areas, I'd like to propose that maybe he or the city council or ask him to, or whatever the proper formula is for him to add a half-court basketball in this playground area for the youth of our city. By the way, the school's basketball courts are not open, and so the only basketball court I know of is across from my house. So
there's one on Lorena's court.
I was wondering when we were getting to that part.
Anyway, so I'd like to ease the traffic congestion there and maybe move it on down to that new park.
Okay, thanks.
Okay? Thank you.
Any more from the public? Okay, so we'll enter as reading title only. Oh, Chris?
Well, sure. So I'm sorry. What was that again, Roger? I read
by title only and introduce.
I will read by title only and introduce an ordinance to the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista approving the amended development agreement between the City of San Juan Bautista and R.L. Fulton Holding Company, LLC, for the Rancho Vista Subdivision Project, VTM 2015-201.
Second. Tony seconded.
Okay, Tony's got the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember West?
Aye.
Councilmember Bach?
Aye.
Councilmember Marchionette?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ridge?
Aye.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
Members of the Conservation Commission on motion to state government on behalf of unanimously.
And that was A, right? So we'll move
5B.
5B. So we're moving on to C.
5C.
Emergency water conservation regulations.
And again, we have Matt, our expert, and he's researched this and has done an outstanding job. And I'm going to let him kind of go through the whole regulations that the governor has required as mandatory.
Okay, so I'll go chronologically with this, which isn't the way it is in the packet. Due to the ongoing drought, on March 17th, the State Water Resource Control Board came out with the same regulations they had last year, plus a few enhanced features and authorizing fines for the first time. So they're sort of giving teeth to these outdoor and indoor watering restrictions, outdoor watering restrictions, and new prohibitions for restaurants and operators of hotels. And then the snowpack survey was done, and it came in at 6% of normal. And so on April 1st, Governor Brown issued Executive Order B2915, which most people have probably heard about at this point. But this basically is going to be the first mandatory water rationing ever in California history, with a goal of reducing statewide urban water consumption by 25%. So it's a long executive order, which is included in your packet. So I'll basically just say that it's designed to save water, to increase enforcement against water waste, to invest in new technologies, to streamline government response, and then As far as what this means for San Juan Bautista, most of these deal with larger urban water suppliers, which we are not because we have less than 3,000 connections. So for small water suppliers, they initially urged us to go for 20%. And then when the actual regulation came out, it said 25%. So we're still urged to do 25% reduction. So what I did to sort of get an idea of where we are as a city, I worked with Michelle to put together the data on our water use from 2013, and then the 3 months that we have so far in 2015. And it turns out that as of right now, we are at about 21.49% below where we were in 2013. So as far as revenue reductions, we're looking kind of good. I'm sure from Roger's perspective, only needing another 3.5% or so if we are able to maintain that level of conservation. In addition to that, the executive order also called for the introduction of a tiered water rate structure, which hit a major bump today in the road because of a court decision in San Juan Capistrano that declared their tiered water rates illegal because they weren't tied directly mathematically to the cost of service. So this has thrown sort of all water agencies in California into a tailspin over the last day or two because they're all sort of wondering whether their tiered rate structures, which 66 to 80% of them have, are legal or not. So at this point, I would sort of strike the last paragraph in my staff report here because we sort of need to figure out whether that's going to be legal. Governor Brown came out and said that this court ruling put a straitjacket on water suppliers, and that's sort of true as far as how you do water conservation if you can't do water rate tiering. So, and what that would be is you set a base level of cost, and then if people go above that, you pay a higher rate per unit of water, and it jumps up by block rate pretty substantially for each tier. You have a question?
I understood that I think there's some question about whether there's different ways of doing the tiers, and I gathered that their methodology is different from most cities' methodology for creating those tiers, and that it may or may not affect the rest of us.
Right.
Is that still waiting? I guess we still have to have an evaluation of that finding, right? So.
Well, they were a very, very bad example because they just arbitrarily picked numbers for the tiers and didn't do any math to tie it to water
which is
cost of
not
service.
Really what we have. I mean, we're not adding on fees just for the sake of adding on fees and then banking those dollars. I mean, ours is pretty closely related to the.
Well, we don't have anything yet. This is something we would be introducing in the future. But what I mean is, because this is sort of all unclear at the moment, the city should definitely wait on that aspect of it. That being said, with the new outdoor restrictions, I'm thinking we can probably meet our goal just by doing that. And one of the other things is that this is sort of a moving target. These regulations are being formulated as we speak, and so I went into my new job on Monday, and they said, "Oh, the 2-day-a-week watering restrictions now aren't part of it anymore. They got stricken. So they may come back, and we can do them even if we don't have to, if we think that'll help us." So. One other part of this whole water packet was that when Roger and I met with Anita Kane to talk about a new approved street tree list, she mentioned or asked us if we had passed the AB 1881 model landscape ordinance, and I had never heard of that, and we did a little research, and the city had never actually adopted that, which we were supposed to by 2010. But part of the executive order is actually to update that model landscape ordinance. So at this point, we should just wait until the new one comes out, and then we can adopt it. And it doesn't hurt us in the meantime because all certified landscape architects have to abide by that sort of code of landscaping. So even if someone were to work on a project in the meantime, it would be to those standards. So.
Okay. I have a question for Matt. Yeah. And I know I asked Roger this, but using myself as an example, I took all my lawn out my front yard is basically rock with a couple of trees in it. I don't know how I could possibly cut 25% off of my water usage because, I mean, what was the saying they use? If it's yellow, let it mellow. I mean, you know,
It's Jerry Brown,
I mean,
flush it
you know, I just wonder, how is it?
Well, that's what Sean was saying earlier. First of all, what he said is if you're already conserving 20, the goal is 25, you're just going for another 5. But it's also aggregate for the city, so it doesn't, and if you're already a great, you know, water conserver, you don't, and you're down around 30 gallons per person per day in your house, you don't really need to do a lot more. This is more aimed at the larger water consumer, the higher water consumers, and people who are using a lot for outdoor irrigation. So if you've already dialed those back, this really isn't going to affect you nearly as much.
And it's 2013 we go back to.
Didn't I say 2013 to 2015? Yeah.
It was 2 years difference, not 1 year, not last year.
However, if you've had the rock in at 210,
Yeah.
you know, then, but still, it's the overall aggregate of the community and our water system, you know.
Okay, because like I said to you, I just couldn't see how I could.
So somebody who was a high user in
Yeah.
13 is really gonna.
But now,
You mean you built your house in 13?
But that's the thing, it's not a house to house. I mean, we'll be doing it on the city level, so, you know.
well, like the cemetery district, we had to shut it off the other day because some lady backed over a standpipe, and I'm just thinking right now, I'm going to leave it shut off, and hopefully one of these days we can use that recycled water. I got a lot of trees up there I hate to lose, but you know, our cemetery water bill in the summer, it ran anywhere from $600 to $900. We were using a lot of water.
One on most of this recycled water is exempted too. So if we could get that going, then you know that's water you could irrigate with without restrictions.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. And it's also just so because a couple of people have asked me if you want to say have a bucket in your shower. Say we do implement 2-day-a-week watering, and you want to save water in your shower and then take that outside to water, one of your fruit trees or something. You're more than welcome to do that any day of the week. This is about sort of running water coming from a hose or something in your backyard. If you're willing to tote it out there, you can do it whenever you want. So that being said, we put together an ordinance that will adopt these new regulations and allow the city to do enforcement of violations. So I don't know if Deb wants to explain more of
Matt
that.
and I were researching, Australia is not new to this. They have a dual plumbing system where gray water is extracted and then utilized for plants intentionally. And then there's brown water, that's not, that goes into the septic system as well as the potable water for consumption. And I think their restriction is 32 gallons per person per day,
So as far as the ordinance goes, the governor and the State Water Resource Control Board are putting regulations into place that haven't been passed yet. And then the fine is going to be on the city if the city doesn't reduce its water rates. But the fine isn't on the individual person. In order for the city to really implement this, you need to put an ordinance into place so that you can go through the due process to issue citations and then have appeal process if someone wants to do that, and then issue the citations and have people pay them. So that's the way for the city to bring its water consumption, because whoever replaces Matt's going to have to report in December whether the city has reduced water from June, it starts in June up until December, and whether they've reduced in that period compared to 2013. So the only way that we can really say, people, you have to stop using water and is to issue citations. And the first line of the citations is for a warning, and then after that the citations issue, and they're $50, but if someone keeps refusing to obey, the penalties go up and they can be cumulative. And So that would really be the best way for the city to put those ordinance in place, to have the first reading tonight, the second reading at the next meeting, to be able to issue citations to citizens. And you'll note that there's quite a strict array of we haven't really gone through them. I don't know if you want to go through what's there in the smorgasbord of what's not allowed in the city after this ordinance is passed. I will note that it's I looked at San Jose's, I looked at Santa Cruz. It's a little less restrictive than some of those ordinances, and some people are looking at not allowing swimming pools anymore, et cetera. So this is really the first line. I think that Matt in his research thought that this is what would allow you to reduce for 25% over this next period.
So they basically took 2013 and how much water the city used. Okay, so is there a population involved in that? So supposing you say, just on the average, we use 1,000 gallons, we had 10 people, that's how we got our average, but now we have, 15 people using that same 100, or, maybe they're using 150 gallons. Is there any type of
I'm sure
curve on that?
If there had been a lot of
If our
population change, we could factor that in, but this is San Juan Bautista and it hasn't changed much. So,
yeah.
I mean, I could calculate that if you like, but since 2013, the
I'm
population
just
really
thinking
hasn't changed significantly.
New housing projects and stuff going in, if our numbers are going to start changing in population, is that, going to change our percentage of water usage?
It would, but not between June and December.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So yes, if this goes on for another year, we have to do it again, that we'll definitely have to factor that one in.
Which, I didn't know that Jerry's first name was Edmund. So if Edmund wants this, again, probably will happen.
You're going to establish a set of rules and put it in the water bill, correct?
Yes, the bill insert.
Or the bill. The one thing you might look at is like me. I have a duplex and I pay the water bill. Mm-hmm. So when something like this comes out, I make a copy of it and I give it to the tenants. And I don't know if the other apartment owners in town do that, because you're always going to get the, oh, I didn't know I couldn't wash my car and leave the hose running, type of thing. And
it's in the ordinance as well. There's a public information section of it where it has to go on the website. There has to be a proclamation by the city council. So there'll be like several steps in there to let the public know. And it also says the city manager is going to take whatever steps are necessary to let the public know. So that could be get on the news or what have you.
I think as a landlord, and if you're paying the water, you're gonna want to let them know.
Oh yeah.
Because
even just
especially
I don't want
if
them
you're
wasting it. We stopped watering the lawns and everything.
Because
over
that fine going to be in the name of Mr. Bach.
Yeah.
and that's a wonderful. That's very creative of Jerry Brown to make us the heavies on all of this.
Oh, that's his.
We will have water police from our staff around, as well as our public works, and we got them, as well as citizens can call in and assist us.
Well, one other thing, and Bob is still here, I was wondering, in a new subdivision, I don't know if we could require it or whatever, that they don't put a sod lawn in.
No, they won't.
That's handled already.
Yeah.
The Planning Commission specifically said that the building and site design have to come back from the Planning Commission. They've already implemented that on 2 buildings on Monterey Street to get rid of the sod. And they're going, and then we'll have this landscaping ordinance available there. We'll be reviewing that. And that's already in motion and part of the approval for the Rancho Vista.
Just trying to give you.
Yeah. And those new houses will be the most water efficient houses in the town.
Yeah.
Yes. There's no question about that.
So I should probably just read what the water waste prohibitions are, because you're not going to read the whole ordinance through. But
Are you just going to do the titles, or
what's that?
Just going to do the titles on
I was just going to read the A through H on the restrictions, just so people know what they are, since we haven't done those one by one yet. So the first, this is what's prohibited. Landscape watering on any day other than Monday and Thursday or between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on any day. So anytime before 9 or after 5 on Monday and Thursday is okay. Every other time, day, not okay. B, washing down sidewalks and driveways. C, watering outdoor landscapes in a manner that causes excess runoff. I see this all the time on my way here from Santa Cruz with just sprinklers going across the sidewalks into the road. So that's C. D, washing a motor vehicle with a hose unless the hose is fitted with a shutoff nozzle. That's what Sean Novak referred to earlier. You can get those free from the Water Resource Association of San Bernardino County. E, operating a fountain or decorative water feature unless the water is part of a recirculating system. F, irrigating turf or ornamental landscapes during and 48 hours following measurable precipitation. That's going to be one where we really need some help keeping an eye out for. G, serving water to customers in restaurants or other food service establishments other than by request. And you'll see those little cards on a lot of tables around here. H, laundering towels and linens daily in hotels and motels without offering the option of choosing not to have them laundered or not prominently displaying notice of this option. So those are the restrictions.
So going back to the laundry for the hotels and motels, what do they want, certain days?
No, because I mean that just depends on when the people are staying in the hotel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Any comments? Anybody have any?
Question is do we know what the average in San Juan Bautista of gallons per day is?
We didn't actually compute that, but we could if we get.
Yeah, I don't know how much work it would be, but it'd be kind of neat to see what the highest usage, lowest use, and where you're at, so you can kind of gauge yourself. That might be a lot of work. I don't know. It might be something simple, but it'd be nice to know if 40 gallons a day is what I'm using, but the highest user in town's using 120, and at least Tony's only using 25 gallons a day. So it'd be nice to know where you are in that spectrum.
And if you want to do it, you just take your total water use for the month, divide by the number of people in the house, and divide by the number of days in the month, and that would give it to you. So, yeah.
Okay, so
195. Rough number.
195.
195 gallons per household per day for the town. Then that's a really rough number.
Per household, though, not
per household.
Okay.
Per household.
Average.
Then yeah, that should be relatively low. Because if it's 4 people, then under 50, so that's good.
I guess we need to. I don't know if you need to break these down.
56 gallons.
Comment, I guess.
That's January, really rough.
I thought we did.
Santa Cruz was what, 65?
Santa Cruz is 55, and Soquel Creek, where I'm going to be working, is 64. So yeah, and that's 65 and under is the top tier in the state of California for conservation. So those districts are being asked to conserve only 8% on top of where they're going now, whereas people out by Palm Springs are being asked to conserve 36% because they're 348 gallons per person per day. So
yeah, there you go.
Okay, so Roger, where are we on this now? Are we?
Any other public comment? No.
Well, I called public comment. Eric came up.
That it? Okay.
Anybody else from public comment? Okay. So moving along. So where are we at?
Public.
yeah, first reading.
First reading.
And that's what he read?
Read by title only and introduce.
Okay. Go ahead.
Look at me. Okay. I'd like to read by title only and introduce an ordinance to the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista to add Section 6-4-116 to the city's municipal code for regulations and restrictions in times of water shortage.
I'll second.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rich?
Aye.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor to pass unanimously.
So moving along to number 6, action items.
Is that mine or yours?
Excuse me, there's another, the review and discuss citywide.
That's not part of the
emergency-
same one? Review and discuss citywide emergency water conservation bill insert? Is that just the one we?
I sort of covered all the, that's
Yeah,
just
you
an
covered
example
on-
of what
yeah,
that
yeah.
notification would look like. And that's an example of what the bill insert would look like.
Okay. It's
So
just, no, I just curious, it's on the agenda. I didn't-
Yeah, sorry, I covered all of those kind of in one mass.
Okay. There's no effective date on here.
We didn't know it at the time. Like I said, those are all drafts, as well as the notice of violation, that's a draft too. So I just wanted to get those together before I left, so that the next person can have a review of what we were going for. So.
All right. So we can go back to number 6, action items.
Yeah.
Initiate annexation proceedings.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council, this is the final steps for submission of these 3 parcels for annexation into the city limits. And they are to initiate the proceedings of annexation. The .78 acres is the city well. The .165 is the high zone reservoir. And the 2.72 is the cemetery. It would be in order that Councilman Bach, recuse himself, some action on item number 3.
Yeah. So we'll do 1 and 2, and then we'll boot you. Okay. So we'll go 1. Consider resolution 2015-19 for application initiating proceedings for annexation of a .70 acre parcel of land into the city. APN 012-119-038. Any motion?
Public comment?
Any public comment? I'll bring it back to council. Any question?
Are we
No.
doing these 3 separately? Each
Each one
property?
separately, yes.
So we're just on one, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll move that we adopt resolution 2015-19, is that it?
Yeah.
For application initiating proceedings for annexation of a .78 acre parcel of land into the city, APN number 012-119-038.
You get a second?
Second.
I think Chris got that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach,
Yes.
Councilmember Montana,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ridge,
Aye.
Mayor Lund.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
All right, we're moving on to 2. Consider resolution 2015-20 for application initiating proceedings of annexation of a 1.63 acre parcel of land into the city. APN 012-140-027. Any public comment? Okay, bring it back to council. Nothing there? Okay, anybody like to make a motion?
I move we pass a resolution for application of the City of San Juan Bautista initiating proceedings for a 1.63 acre parcel of land, APN 012-140-027, annexation into the City of San Juan Bautista.
Excuse me. And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call?
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Bach,
Yes.
Councilmember Montana,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ridge,
Aye.
Mayor Lund.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. We'll move on to 3. Consider resolution 2015-14.
It should be 21.
21? Okay. And when I saw that, it should be 20. For application initiating proceedings for annexation of a 2.72 acre parcel of land into the city, APN 002-280-001. Anybody from the public would like to comment? Okay, bring it back to the council. Okay, your motion?
I'll make a motion that resolution for application of the City of San Juan Bautista initiating proceedings for a 2.72 acre parcel of land, APN 002-280-001, annexation into the City of San Juan Bautista.
Second.
I'll give that one to Rick.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Bach,
Recluse?
Councilmember Marshall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lynch.
Aye.
Mayor Lund.
Aye.
Board members, please consider being present with the motion of City Clerk to pass unanimously.
I'd like to just point out the APN number on that is 02, which would signify that it is in the city already. However, it was an error on the assessors there where they thought that 1/3 of the thing that's in the county was in the city already. It was just an error, you know.
Okay.
So it's getting a new APN
It's
now.
going to get a new APN.
Great. Okay, going to B, appointment of Planning Commission.
Let's get Tony back in here.
Yeah, well, is Tony back?
We're ready for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment?
You missed the whole rest of the meeting, Tony.
I guess that comes back to me. We had a couple applications submitted. I'd gotten some follow-up calls from a few of the people, and kind of haven't. Is this something I'm going to have to appoint tonight, for sure?
Yes, currently we have a vacancy. There are 4 members on the planning commission.
Okay.
And the replacement would be Georgetta Collard's position.
All right.
And there would also, you had 2 people in there. You should always ask anybody in the audience if they're interested.
Okay.
You know, and have them come forward and state their piece. Just
Yeah, we've been going through this process for what, 3 months, 2 months now?
Yeah.
2 months now.
We continued it last month because you weren't here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody in the audience that would like to maybe put in an application for planning commission?
Jolene would be a good one.
Okay, well, decision I've made on it, on that. If Eric is still interested, if you would like to be on the planning commission, I see a big deal of involvement with you in the community. The other applicant too, Maggie, great to have you in the community helping and doing stuff. But I made the decision with Eric and appreciate it. Moving along.
So did you appoint Eric?
Do we need to
vote on that?
No, it's an appointment.
Yeah, that's an appointment.
It's an appointment?
Yeah.
But we can swear them in, or do we need to wait?
We'll do that. Don't we do that for the next meeting, or
Yeah.
does Trish do it now?
We also have a reappointment of the fire chief, so maybe when we get to that,
We'll do that one. Okay.
John Fox, if he is here, or if he's here, then
Yeah,
we
he's
do the 2
he's
of
hiding
us.
over there.
Oh, he's hiding. There you go.
If he was
We
on
can
fire,
sort
we'd see
them
him. Okay, we'll go to see accept appointments to the Youth Commission Strategic Planning Committee report.
Hi, I'm John Freeman, chairperson of the Strategic Planning Committee, and it gives me great pleasure to talk about this a little bit because I think it's going to be a real positive for the entire community. Anyway, for the past, I would say 6 months, one of our subcommittees has been working on this youth commission. It's already been presented to you guys, and you've approved the idea generically. And now we've gone through a recruitment process and an interview process, and we're proud to recommend 6 candidates. And so I'll just kind of read this because it's easier. In background, the draft San Juan Bautista 2035 general plan, strategic element PEF 7.1.1.1.1 recommends the formation of a youth commission. The goal in creating a youth commission is to provide the city council with advice about the needs of the youth, to create programs and activities for the youth of San Juan Bautista, and to actively involve the youth in the community. The City Council recently enacted an ordinance forming a 11-member youth commission of members ages 12 through 18 and approved the commission's bylaws, which require an adult advisor to be appointed to assist and guide the commission. Focused elements of the duties of the commission are as follows. Number 1, studying problems, activities, concerns of the youth, holding forums on these problems, recommend community programs to the City Council, you guys, in which the commission finds needs and or desirable, involving the youth of San Juan Bautista in their community and developing events and activities which connect the youth with their community, working with committees, boards, commissions, and the City Council in providing input to youth issues in our community. 4, researching and advising the council on local and state regulations affecting youth and provide the local youth with information about issues in their city government that pertain to them. 5, annually determine the commission's goals and objectives and report these to the council. A recruitment period was held from February through the end of March, and we extended it to into April. 6 applications were submitted during this period, along with 2 adult advisors. A panel of members of the Strategic Plan Committee, consisting of Shauna, myself, and Dave, interviewed the highly qualified and motivated youth commission applicants, and we recommend their appointments. And they are Bo Canepa, who is an 8th grader at San Juan School, actively involved in soccer, basketball, and track. Rachel Gorlick, a 9th grader at the Gecko program at Gatlin Community College in Gilroy. Kayleen McLaughlin, a 7th grader. Jasmine Rios, an 8th grader at San Juan School. Yacina Rios, 11th grader at Ansar High School. And Katie Wilbur, 7th grader in Hollister. There was only 6 applications for this hopefully 11-member commission, and the Strategic Plan Committee is recommending that these members be appointed until September 2017, and suggests an additional recruitment period be opened in the September, i.e. the new school year, for the remaining open 5 seats. Additionally, 2 experienced and capable adults applied for the advisor capacity, and each wishes to share the responsibility. So our committee recommends the appointment of the following candidates to share in this role, and that would be Donna Holmes and Joey Dorell Canepa.
Oh, nice.
Any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Joey Canepa.
Is this
So we don't have to vote on this, Roger?
We do need to appoint them.
Yeah.
We do?
Yes.
We do have to vote.
It's
Okay.
we created
How should we read that then?
Well, public comment.
Well, I mean, if we're doing... Is
Just
there
move to appoint them. But open it up for
All right.
comment.
Yeah, we'll open up. Public comment? Anybody from the public would like to comment on this issue? Okay, I'm going to bring it back to council.
let's see, you want to appoint them all by name? Make a motion to appoint
the 6
youths. The 6, Bo Canepa, Rachel Gorlick, Kayleen McLaughlin, Jasmine Rios, Yesenia Rios, and Katie Wilbur, and as the adult
Donna Holmes and Canepa.
Supervisors, Donna Holmes and Joey Dorell Canepa.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Bergeron?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Reg?
Aye.
Mayor Lynn?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is carried by the maker passes unanimously.
All right, item D, reappoint John Fox as Fire Chief of the San Juan Bautista Volunteer Fire Department. John, if you'd like to come up here.
Mr. Mayor, John Fox was the assistant volunteer fire chief. When Chris Feinstead retired, I appointed John to be the volunteer fire chief. That was my prerogative as the city manager. Tonight, I would ask that you reaffirm my appointment to him for the fire chief, volunteer fire chief for the city of San Juan Bautista.
Okay. John, if we can have you come up too. Is it any public comment with that? Pretty much familiar with the job opportunity of being the volunteer fire chief here. And do you have any questions? No. Okay. All right. So I will appoint you as fire chief for the volunteer San Juan Bautista. And we're going to have Trish swear you in.
Connie, the city clerk.
Connie will. And did we want to bring in
Eric, right
Eric?
behind him.
Okay.
Yeah, now profile.
I know Eric was that much taller.
Okay, can I have you both raise your right hand, please? Okay, and then you're going to repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
All right. Thank you both. Okay, moving on to E. Consider Resolution 2015-22, authorizing assurance of not to exceed $12,150,000 principal amount of Series 2015.
What's a couple bucks one word?
Yeah, we'll never see it. Enterprise revenue refunding bonds. Approving the forms of the authorizing and directing execution and delivery of conveyance agreements, installment, sale agreements, purchase contract, and continuing disclosure agreement. Approving the form of the official statement and the distribution thereof, and providing for other matters properly related thereto. Staff?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is part of the refinancing proposal that we've considered to refinance our 208 certificate of participation bonds. The current agreement with Wells Fargo is that we could not renegotiate this until 2018. There is a refinancing available, and Cameron Weiss has been representing us together with the Southwest Securities, and we found that by creating a public financing authority, we can enter into a refinancing and finance it as revenue bonds supported by the revenue produced by the enterprising accounts of local water and sewer.
The original debt was $11,145,000. Okay, we have been paying that since 2008 and retiring and meeting all our obligations. The current balance is $10,405,000. The refinancing portion of this creates an administrative cost, bond discount, security and everything, and so it has elevated up to $11,608,000. I've asked let me go back now. When I came on board, we discovered that there were some unpaid bills from the construction, and totaling almost $1 million. One was to Pavex, and the other was to Monterey Peninsula. We met those obligations and retired those by balancing our revenues to our expenditures, and the excess, we've met the debt reductions, and we have now retired that debt down from just under $1 million down to about $260,000. Okay. In the refinancing, I asked the bond counsel, I says, could we ask for additional revenues, new monies into it, and finance it over the 29-year period so that we could finish off and pay Pavex their balance. Now this would save us, there's 3 years left onto the contract where we're paying 5% interest, and we're paying $7,731.38 every month, which is a total of $92,977. By paying that off, we would save $246,000 over the course of that 3-year period. Okay. What that does is it drives the principal amount of the debt up towards $12 million. I've also asked them to say that we've put away and saved close to $436,000 of revenues to build the pellet plant, the water softener. If we could ask for $400,000 of new money into that and get there, that would give us about $800,000. Then we could complete the pellet plant and provide soft water, and then we could get into the task of encouraging property owners to remove their water softeners, because we'd be providing soft water, and thereby then petitioning the Regional Water Quality Control Board to eliminate the $3,000 per month fine that we're incurring at the wastewater treatment plant. By doing this, we raise the debt ceiling up to $12,150,000. If the current atmosphere from the feds prevail, the ongoing interest rate is going to be about 3.7 to 3.76. That's about what the bond discounts are going for now, and that would result in a debt structure of right around $125,000 less than the current principal plus interest that we're paying now, which is about $773,000 a year, and we divide that by half, and it's paid in 2 installments. So that would generate a surplus or a savings that we could plow back into our infrastructures to continue to upgrade them. And particularly like the sewer treatment plant will have to be upgraded, as well as our water system and water mains throughout the city. And I think that reflects into the previous council that did a 5-year capital improvement program, and we identified numerous water and sewer improvements, as well as streets and stuff like that. So,
I have a question. Because this is about paying off Pavex, which is owned by Granite Rock, and I work for Granite Rock, should I recuse myself?
That's something legal counsel.
Well, it seems to me just at the last minute now that, without doing an analysis, that you probably should recuse yourself, because it seems like there's a financial gain.
Yeah, there's going to be a payoff.
Yes, there's a payoff.
I mean, the payoff's been going on for 8 years.
Pays you somehow, so
And just to qualify that, we're not asking for any action tonight. This is just information only. And after tonight, we are going to ask you to adjourn this meeting to a special meeting on May the 7th. So, and then Cameron and the legal counsel will be here where you can take action.
So what do I do?
Then you would have to recuse yourself when action is taken.
Okay, at that time.
We're not here. Are we adjourning to a special meeting, or we're adjourning
Adjourning this regular meeting to that. And this is just all strict information, so that you get some background to it, and stuff like that.
So stay here now.
You're okay.
So in here, and the reason that it's delayed is that Cameron had to get some additional ordinances because we have to get permission from your host of the financing authority, which is the California Financing Authority. And so that's coming, and so that's the reason for the delay. So tonight, I would say is if you have any questions, throw them at me and see if we can see. Cameron will be here at your regular adjourned meeting of May the 7th with all of the details and stuff like that. Go ahead. Now, the option there is the other option is you can say, no, we don't want to go to the $12,150,000. We want to go to the lower amount, and then there'll be a little bit more savings between what we're paying now and stuff. And then we would have to take that savings, and then we could build a treatment plant, and I think we talked about it in our committee there over maybe a multi-year period, because we have socked away about $436,000, and then each year we would maybe garnish maybe another $160,000, and then we could do it in stages on a 2 or 3 year period, and then we'll be complete. And that's one option, and particularly is that within 3 years, all of a sudden the $7,731 will be obligated and free, and now your surplus in the sewer and water accounts are going to be greater. Right now you're enduring an additional $92,000 a year of expenditures balanced by the revenues, and now we've managed, I think in 2012 I had surplus of 246, in 2013 I had a 167, last year was only an 89, but once we get rid of that debt service from Pavex, then it grows by $92,000. So you can then accrue additional money more rapidly to complete the public.
But we're still continuing that loan for 30 years.
Yeah, and the loan, all of the background was the year 2043, and that's for an additional 29 years, and that code is a jives with the original 208 COP loan that expired in the year 2043.
And there's no payoffs on those?
No balloon payment or nothing like that.
The percentage rate's a little higher than you just described, I think, in the documentation. I think they ran it out at 4%, did they not?
Well, I think it was 3.78.
Okay.
We were, right.
Okay.
And it depends on the feds and the market rate and what it is.
Yeah.
Now, with all that said and done, one of the later in the agenda you're going to have to struggle with is that when people go and buy bonds, they look at your ability to pay. And we have a good track record, and we got a good portfolio of revenues to balance our expenditures, and everything looks good on the disclosure statement and everything. But hanging out there is that audit where the enterprise fund owes the general fund $1.8 million, $1,894,000. And they're going to look and say, well, how are you going to address that? And I think later on in the evening we're going to talk about how to be there. I gave you multiple options to do this. And when we get into that, is that you need a policy and a direction to say, this is how we're going to do it.
We can't forgive it?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
And the gentleman from the securities firm is going to be here, the lawyer will be here at our May 7th meeting?
Yes.
Then I'll save my questions till then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we need a motion to continue this?
Well,
or
we're
we
just-
To adjourn this
Motion
regular
to
meeting to May 7th.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say let's continue this item till we finish the rest of the agenda. And then there you will adjourn to a May the 7th meeting. Because there's still items on the agenda.
Okay.
Would that be a motion or just a recommendation from me?
Right now, I'm recommending that you continue this item to the last item on the agenda.
Okay, so so we can just agree to do that then? Okay. All in agree?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, moving on to number 7. Discussion items. Sewer rate update since November 2012.
This goes back to a number of years where the number of smaller apartment units have raised issue there that they're paying the same rate as a residential house in terms of their small apartment units where their fixture units are limited and stuff like that. And I did the analysis, and I think I presented this back in 2012 to the City Council for consideration. And you got multifamilies where there are multifamilies where there's only one bathroom, and there's multifamilies with maybe a bath and a half or 2 baths. Then there are small commercial, and I think in 2012, the council approved our small little commercial with limited 4 employees or less, and we reduced the rates to there, and I think that's reflected in one of the rates that I've established. Small shops, toilets from 0 to 4 was $47.85. Small shops with toilet 5 or more employees, $53.84, and that was approved by the council.
I remember that.
The emphasis here is a single-family residential at 61, and then there's the multiple family apartments with maybe 1.5 to 2 baths, and then there's apartments with just 1 bath, fixture units, less. Then there is the mobile homes, and a small mobile home, a 900 square foot, and then there's a large double-wide mobile home, you see. And each one I took and investigated the number of fixture units that typically they would have. And the more fixture units are going to be the more disposal, discharge, the effluent and stuff. So I tried to boil this down and then give you a recommendation to say what this would mean. And it's really up to there. I know the previous council kind of took a position to say, well, I don't think the rate should be adjusted for small houses because in a typical single family, a guy would have maybe a 1,200 square foot house and a guy would have 2,200 square foot house, and they're going to pay the same. And it kind of averages out. So where do you draw that line?
Well, you know, the other thing, we all live in the city and pay that bill. So there's no conflict in that?
I tell you what, Michelle's not going to cut you any slack.
Well, public exemption, that if it applies to everybody equally, then you can vote.
Okay.
You represent the public. They voted you to represent them. And you have to speak for the greater good of the community.
Okay.
And it's strictly something for you to consider.
So what's the fiscal impact you're predicting is a reduction in revenue of about $27,500?
Yes.
Okay.
I think really the amount of usage that the sewer facility gets is based on the number of people, not the number of toilets.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can accurately determine how many people are in a dwelling unit.
Yeah.
It would have to be trusting the honesty of the
Yeah.
people living there, so.
Yeah, right, and rightly so. We use in the planning, the 3.5, the 3.2 is the average density.
Yeah.
But I've gone into houses and there are 6 to 7 people living in there.
Yeah.
Well, we will know by their water consumption.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how on the apartments over on McCollum, how are they metered?
Well, some apartments are master metered, like Tony says, he pays the water bill for his duplexes. There are some 4plexes and 6plexes that are master metered, and then the owner pays for those, and he cranks that into his monthly rent.
Are those master metered, is it a multiple of, so is it $77 times 2 for a duplex to currently?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think you were referring to
The apartments.
Mission Vista, or no,
Valley
the ones
Vista?
on Colony Street, the new one, Mission Garden.
Mission, yeah.
Yeah.
They got 1 meter or individual?
In each of the things, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complexes or 5 quads and everything, and each one is master metered.
Oh.
So there's a 5-unit, 5-unit.
So that water and
5-unit.
sewer is paid by the landlord? So that as long as the 5 average out, then they shouldn't see any.
Yeah. And each one is master metered where that quad and the bathroom facilities are all the same. One doesn't have 2 baths and another 1 bath. And it creates
So what happens if they have a unit open for rent or nobody's
They
living
still
there?
pay it.
still pay.
They still pay.
We've had that come up, but they would have to come in and have the service shut off, and they can't.
They can't because it's master metered. Okay. Anybody from the public like to comment? Come up, express, okay. Alrighty, so any more on the water for that? Okay. All right, we'll move on to item B, budget overview and vision statement.
Okay. And we're getting into our budget, and previously I had given you kind of an outline for the budget overview, and this is just kind of a summary of the thing. And then the first budget session is May the 7th, to be after our adjourned meeting, and we get in, and then I'll lay each line item budgets in front of you, and you can pick and choose as you go through each one of them, from the council all the way down to the public works, fire, police, and then we get into the enterprise funds, and then the revenues, basically, as you can see, as you go through here, we've projected our expenditures and I gave you a summary of how we allocate our electrical printing costs, how I allocate my salary, public works salaries, and the finance, because we multitask into a lot of departments, and so we segregate those in. The fiscal summary of the expenditures total $1.3 million. In this case here, that's an increase of about 1.3% from last year. The revenues is 1.466, and that's about a 2.1% increase. The problem when we get into the enterprise is the enterprise has an expenditure of, in the water of $835, and in the sewer of $795. But the revenues, they're down about 11%, and a total of basically 1.58, and that's a deficit of a dollar amount. So what I did was, is on the right-hand side of that, I just says without the capital improvements. The 835 and the 795 have capital improvements in there, water lines, sewer lines, emergency generators and stuff like that. And I'm saying is, if you just delayed those and kicked them to next year, then it would be $707,000. That would be below the 835, and 750 would be below the 795. Those are your flexibilities of deferring the capital improvement for an additional fiscal year until the revenues start to pick up. Now, that goes back to the City Council can take a look at the line item budget when we go through the water and sewer, as well as any of the others, and you can look and says, well, I don't think we should spend this. I don't think we can afford to spend somebody to a conference. Let's cut this down, and then that can change the dynamics of it based on your preference. And then going down to the special districts, we list those separately because they're kind of almost self-sustained. Like the Valley Vista Assessment District, we give it a budget of $21,374, and that's put into an assessment district, and we submit that to the county clerk, and puts it on the ad valorem tax rate, and then they pay it twice a year, and so it's a wash in there. We're just the administrators, and you're the board of directors of that. We try to keep it to a minimum. For the last 3 years, I've been able to stabilize the rate and then reduce it significantly over the last 3 years.
Very good.
Revenues on the next page, as you turn, this is where we projected our revenues from property tax, and you can see from 13, 14, and then into 15, and the property tax went up, and we're only projecting a slight increase in property tax. That's based on the Rancho Vista not coming on and not being assessed, and that will not really take effect until 16, 17, where the ad valorem tax rate will go on. Okay? Franchise fees, business license, other taxes. The other taxes are the second one in there. That's the sales tax, and I struggled with that because we've got 3 or 4 vacancies downtown, and sales tax had been dragging and lagging. So I reduced that by $10,000. The previous year, it went from $397 all the way up to $485 because we had a good result, you know. But this, I'm a little bit cautious, and so I reduced the sales tax revenue significantly down. We were hoping that we would get the ARCO station and really get some gas tax and sales tax on that. But it's now looks like it's going to be delayed and probably won't come online until next year. You know, and I think Deborah's going to kind of cover that in a report that she was with the other attorneys. All the way down, we have a general fund revenue of 1.8. $1,183,000, and then with the water transfers, because part of my time, Michelle's time, and Joe's in here, we count on those to balance off the general fund, and then we have the restricted impact fees, and those go for capital improvements, and inside those expenditures of the general fund, I have capital improvements that are going there, and that reflects the $45,800 that comes from, $35,700 that comes from impact fees that we've already accrued. And if the council council, when they go through there, just says, hey, we're not going to do that, then we just eliminate that from the revenue side. The COP grant, that goes directly into the Sheriff's Department budget, the law enforcement, and that will offset, and that's a grant that we get for the law enforcement, and that helps us defray the cost on that. And so that brings us to a revenue of about 1.46, and that's can meet the needs of the general fund. And again, they're subject to your guys' review of how you want to allocate the expenditures in there, as well as we'll probably fine tune the revenues, and they can be adjusted as we go a little bit further. As we get through the budget hearings, more and more I get closer to the end of the fiscal year, I can predict. I've been waiting for the property tax. The property taxes were due April the 10th, and that we probably won't see that for another 45 days before it comes out, where they'll do the allocation. Now, every time, and I think the previous council and for Jim and Chris, I always give you a standard deviation, you know, okay. These are estimates, and I call them guesstimates, estimates. And they're our best predictions, you know, based on historical stuff. But I always show you what the variations could be. If I'm off 5%, it could go high or low. And that's the very bottom of the revenue. It shows you the flexibility. I've anticipated 1,400,000, you know, but just say, hey, right at the bottom there, if I'm off by 5%, then it's going to be 139. If I estimated low, it would be 15. You know, if it's on 10% off, you know, those are the variations. It just gives you the flexibility where, you know, we try to guess as accurate as possible, but it's impossible to be empirically perfect in the world. And again, the next page is, again, preliminary draft of the capital improvements. And this is based on some past experience of what the council has given us direction. And the water softener is the most important. And then we're under the gun to drill another well, and that would be well number 4. And then we have other needs that we've identified. And again, those are desirable, and if we have the money, we should do them. If we don't, we kick the can down the road and defer it until we have the revenue. Again, I qualify that the capital expenditures are funded by gas tax, RTF, you know, like the first one or the second one, street overlays, $185,000. That comes from the transportation funds that we get from COP. Impact fees, they're going to come in with the Rancho Vista and other little minor subdivisions. They can fund a portion of it. Water revenue reserves, sewer and water development contributions, bond funding, TOT fund reserves, and in grants. Gives you there. Now, let's go back to the cover sheet that I gave you, and I'd like always to say the budget vision, and this is where I've asked you to kind of look and see where are your priorities, and you direct the staff to pursue these, and then we start cranking out the details of your vision of where we'd like to go.
On the capital improvements?
Just on the budget.
Just on
everything.
Budget, right.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to tell you what I was down that we've identified as critical issues, you know, but by no means are those the only ones.
Sure.
Road improvements, park and open space, sidewalk and pedestrian facilities, recreation programs and facilities, downtown parking district, water treatment facilities, sewer treatment expansion upgrade, water distribution facilities and network, law enforcement and level of service. Again, we met with Darren Thompson, and, it's the level of service that we want to establish. Fire protection service, code enforcement, long-range planning. Then I have 8 or 9 here, and I forgot to put down noise ordinance. Storm drain, hillside development regulations, specific area plan of the old cement plant, utility extensions of Mission Vineyard Road, future annexation and area policies, future circulation plan lines, stream and creek linear park master plan, master development plan for gateways. And again, Bob has put some money there where we're going to have some entrance signs coming in. Those are the things that I want you to think about how you want to start.
Jesus Christ.
Feel free to tell me what you want.
Okay. We'll get those thoughts together and relay them back to you.
Yeah, right. And again, the first budget session on May the 7th, you're going to have a lot of ideas and stuff like that. And let what do we call it? The adrenaline flow.
Could use some of that right now.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Okay, so we'll move along here. Interfund debt reduction options.
Go back to the refinancing, and the question that the bondholders are going to say is, you need to come up with an answer. You can't leave it hanging out. And it's a policy statement, even a resolution. You say, this is our plan of attack, and this is how we're going to do it. And that gives you the flexibility that you're going to do it, but if something comes along, you can continue it and extend it. But you need to make a policy statement, and I think then the bond purchasers are going to say, hey, they're right on board. They got a plan and they got a thing, and then we can get a better rate for our revenue bonds, and that's what it's all about.
So, oh, go ahead.
As far as the effect this will have on the bond sales, would it look better if we pay off everything, or does it matter whether we forgive some and pay off the rest?
I really don't have an answer for that.
Should we ask those questions on the 7th?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's for, is forgiveness okay? Is it, partial payoff, an acceptance?
It's a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
If the bondholder says, hey, they're willing to forgive a certain amount of that they have to pay out of the enterprise back to the general fund, that's going to help the general enterprise. And the bondholders are buying the bonds from the enterprise. I can say, hey, I like that. That might be one attitude that they might have.
So we'll look into that then.
Yeah. And some of them are pretty straightforward. The first one is just to take the one and then divide it by 29 and say, hey, this is going to be our, there I gave you, there is a fine thing about to pay off a debt, you have to charge an interest rate. I did you a 1, 2, 3, and 3.5. The IRS is telling us that you have to come up with a reasonable rate. The 1% is a reasonable rate right now because your money that's invested in the banks is only growing 0.3 and 0.4 and 1%. But 10 years ago, the IRS says, no, hey, it's got to be 2.5%, 3% or whatever it is. I know I had to do it once privately, and the IRS says you will charge 3%, and that was when we were getting 5 and 6%.
Yeah.
So in this case here, I don't think it's so critical, but so the first one, I just says, at a 1%, you're gonna have to pay $75,000 or $6,300 a month for the next 29 years.
Roger, just to be clear, this annual monthly payment, that comes from the water and sewer fund.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah. So we have to look at that and see what we can afford.
And, no, and here's the other thing. You could come up with a policy that says, we are not going to start reducing the imbalance here until till the payback is paid off.
Yeah.
And now you've freed $7,731. Now I'm going to apply it to it. That could be a policy, and that could be your thing. And to say, now for the next 26 years, we're going to charge you $7,300, and we're going to retire it. And then I can run those things. That could be, because you've met the 7,000 for the last, since I've been here, 4 years.
Yeah.
That's just one idea. I'm not saying do it.
All right.
Now, of the different from A, B, C, and then you get into E and F and G. Then I was using impact fees for growth. And of course, growth is a two-edged sword. Is it a 3%? Is it 2%? Or is it there? I balance it off on a 1.5%. Very conservative. State average is 1.37. There, but who knows, growth could dry up on us too, just like before. So that's kind of a dangerous two-edged sword too.
Yeah. All right. Any comment from the public? Come on up to the podium.
Hi, I'm Jason McCormick from Beneath the Lake. I just had a question about the timing of this. I'm wondering if the federal interest rates had, I realize now that the timing with the federal interest rates do seem like they're going to be rising. I mean, the Fed already has announced that, and I'm wondering how much that had with relevance with the timing of this action today.
That's why we're hurrying to get it complete, so that before they raise it, everything that I've read and talked with all of the consultants, that it looks like Yeltsin, the Fed chairman there, is going to look at sometime in June or July, and it depends on the economy, that they might start to raise it. I doubt very seriously, because for the simple reason that the United States government has, $17 trillion in debt, and if they just raise it 1%, that throws tremendous pressure, billions of dollars that they have to pay in interest, and so they're going to keep that interest rate as low as possible.
They're a double-edged sword.
Retiring that $1 trillion.
Thank you.
So they're a double-edged sword.
They're a double-edged sword, yeah.
Until Hillary gets in.
Okay.
She'll straighten it all out.
All right, moving along.
Before going to the next item, it was brought to my attention that according to our municipal code, there has to be a vote on a planning commissioner appointment amongst you. It's in the code.
All right, Eric, you're still
not iffy there, Eric.
Okay, so I'll bring it back to the council. Eric was my nomination for Planning Commission, and so I'll bring it to, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Martorana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ridge?
Aye.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is signify by the passes unanimously.
All right, Eric, you're back in.
Next time, bring cookies.
Yeah, where's the cookies? No more cookies?
Make him swear in again.
Yeah, make him swear in again.
No.
Okay, we're going to go last on the discussion items. 3rd Street, motorcycle parking and public nuisance.
Boy. This is something that I get a lot of complaints with, particularly Saturdays and Sundays, where the motorcycles roll in here, and just last week, or they were confronting me where I asked them just to remove themselves from the public right away, and they got into my face, and some guy was cracking a whip out in the middle of the street.
But we don't pay you for that, Roger.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that. Call the sheriff. Jesus.
But anyway, it's something that we're going to have to address, and I've outlined 3 areas that we could do, and I read the code on business license, and I'm going to be asking Deborah to really take a hard look on this and see what kind of activity we can do there, because when the activities of a business creates a public nuisance, I think we can say, hey, it violated our regulations, and conduct, and the ability to conduct business to the adjacent property owners. It could be
Do we have any?
And from your standpoint, it has a direct effect on the sales tax, because if those people can't operate an effective thing, they're going to close shop, and then that thing is going to be vacant, and then that has a direct relationship to our sales tax and our revenue base. And administrative penalties, as the enforcement officer, I have certain criteria that you've given us power to take a look at violations of the municipal code for specific activities, And then there's the section of 518-300, consumption of alcohol beverages and obstructing walkways. And that's right in the code there. And then there's a 318-305, blocking entrances to the place of the public assembly, And they point there where they block the sidewalk, and they're now smoking in front of the thing, and I researched it, and I've got the thing is, you can't smoke within 20 feet of the entrance of an opening of a building where the public uses. Now, the nice part about that is that it's 20 feet this way and 20 feet to the next door and there. You probably are going to ban all smoking in the sidewalk on 3rd Street.
On the west side of 3rd Street, between the city and Mariposa City.
So that might be a good step, but those are things that I want Deborah to take a look at and see if we can, really go after them and stuff like that. The other aspect, and Tony and I met with the sheriff this morning, and he had some suggestions, and we're going to pursue those. The other aspect is that we had talked about is pavement markings and curbs to restrict parking, motorcycles, and encouraging them to go on the side streets. It was one aspect of it. Let's see, what else was this?
Reduction to
The interesting thing was the noise ordinance.
Oh, and then the noise ordinance, yeah. And I've done a noise ordinance when Matt Leal was here, and we have it, and I'm going to wreck that and bring it back to you and stuff, and get it, because a lot of times when they leave the establishment at 6:30, 7 o'clock, they roar out of here, and not only are they speeding, but the noise exceeds the 96 decibels that's established by the vehicle code. And so we've asked the deputy sheriff to say, well, stop them and do a breathalyzer and you can catch them. He says, well, you can't do that unless they are witnessed where they're doing a violation. And speeding and noise, it's probably the 2 avenues that we can get them, and then he can stop them, and then if he detects that there's alcohol in the beverages, then he's got to be. So I think something's got to be done,
Oh, yeah. All of this, the entire conversation centers around enforcement, and we don't have an effective enforcement mechanism, period.
Yeah.
And Roger is not an effective. Yeah, I agree. And we can pass all the laws we want. We can have a 10 decibel noise ordinance. It's not going to make any difference because we don't have an enforcement mechanism.
Yeah, and with the sheriff, we talked about that. He said if we had the sound ordinance in and stuff like that, then he will assign his deputies, because I told him, I says, I don't want them here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. I want them Friday afternoons, Saturday afternoons from 11 to 10, and Sundays. And those are the hot spots that occur.
So there is a vehicle code ordinance that covers the sound.
Yes.
The sheriff's department then comes back and says, we don't have the equipment to enforce it. You know, we get into these circular conversations. I mean, this stuff's been discussed for some time.
Yeah, right. And we would have to purchase probably an audio meter that could...
I understand you can get an app for a cell phone that is a decibel meter.
Yeah. I think you can buy them at Osh or Home Depot.
Yeah.
They have an attachment for $25.
Yeah.
But it's probably not
certified.
The sheriff to make sure that he's going to enforce that, because there's been a lot of court cases where they go with the meter readings and they've been kicked out. So a lot of cities just go on a reasonable noise standard, not on a decibel level.
Right. That makes sense. But we've
How do you establish a reasonable noise?
Well, that's hard too. I mean, the noise ordinances are hard to enforce because the sheriff would have to hear it and then say it's unreasonable in comparison to other noises. And maybe a way to look at this is maybe to look at an alcohol ordinance too, that sometimes you can shut down the business based on a menu of issues, that they're loud, that they've had a lot of arrests in the area, DUIs in the area, serving minors, those kind of things.
I think that's where we need your help, because that, I agree, and I think if we don't have the mechanism to pull a business license, we need it. And it's not just around this. We've discussed the other another business.
And there's another little subtlety there. That band is put in right next to the front door.
Yeah.
And I've driven by in the car, and it is so loud.
Yeah.
And we can say the ambient noise level from that exceeds, and in our noise ordinance, in our general plan, 65 and 75 decibels.
Right.
And it's deafening.
Well, I can't hear, so.
And the first step may be talking to the business owner. And I don't know if there's been a conversation with the business owner, but I personally not had luck.
I've had several conversations with him over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
No avail.
Okay, so then we need to go to the
Now,
next step.
there is another subtlety that the thing is that if we get down too draconius in the sense and push it, the word will get out to the Hells Angels and the Top Hatters, and they'll retaliate. And there's nothing more worse than to bring in 500-600 motorcycles and flood it.
Yeah.
And that's something that you've got to watch very carefully.
What about parking a squad car in the area? I mean, we know for night construction that if you put all that, unless they see a squad car there, they'll never slow down. So maybe if you parked by the Mission across on that side of the street.
Well, I think number one, the key is getting the deputy to be here and to be visible. I mean, we've had deputies in town at those times, but they did not, to Jim's point, park downtown.
Yeah.
They did not foot patrol, and they did absolutely no enforcement of the types of things
They
we're
didn't want
talking
to be
about.
bothered.
Well, I don't think it was a question. I mean, there may be safety issues too. I mean, these are all important questions, tough questions. But I mean, at the end of the day, if we don't fix the enforcement piece, I mean, I can't see there's no point in passing a sound ordinance if we have not figured out how to enforce it first.
Well, I think I'd like to push for the development of sound ordinance, and at least that you have it as your repertoire of enforcement thing, and if you need it, you can use it. If we don't have it, it's mute.
No pun intended.
If the sheriff will enforce it, so we should work with the sheriff to make sure it's something that they will enforce. Lots of times they won't even touch it.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to be involved in the conversation.
And then there is the administrative citation that we have available too, and those are the more planning things, and we have an administrative citation,
Sure.
So how responsible is a business owner of their customer? How responsible is a business owner of their customer?
You can wrap it into an ordinance, and I know I've drafted them before where there's complaints, there's arrests, there's certain things that go on, and then you pull their business license based on how their customers respond. If there were fights, there was noise, there was DUIs, so there can be a certain level of responsibility for, especially with the bar.
And I think what Deborah's saying is that you document that and then you turn it into the ABC. And then that activity there is they'll pull the liquor license.
Right, that's another process you can use, but it has to be accelerated before the ABC will get involved. And so, I mean, you can start the process with the ABC, but it takes a lot of pushing for them to move in and yank a alcohol license.
Okay. And we're finding that some of the merchants that are right next door are suffering. You know.
I did.
Can I comment on that, please? I like the motorcycles. I like seeing them. They're gorgeous bikes. On the parking part, my little light came on. I cruise down 3rd Street in my car to maybe even just go to Windmill or go to the restaurant. But the way they have them parked, I get that they want to get maximum bikes in, on the curb. You can't, that narrows the street. I'm in the other lane or on the line trying to get down past that area. So when we're looking at parking for the bikes or trying to figure out a way to get where the bikes should go, taking that into consideration too, because now if you've got 2 cars trying to go and you're in that area, somebody's in somebody else's lane trying to get through, because you don't want to hit the bikes. And you're God forbid you hit the bikes. But you're trying to give leeway to that as well. And some of them are wider than cars. So just keeping that in mind too when we're looking at parking.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
And what she's saying is theoretically, the code says is that a tire has to be touching the curb. But they don't do it because they don't want to, they kick
smash
out.
The pipes.
And then that front tire sticks out into the travel.
Yeah. And they stagger them for the handlebars.
A motorcycle tire has to touch the curb?
Touch the curb.
One tire has to be touching the curb, whether it's a front or a back.
Oh, okay.
But
because the car could be 18 inches away.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the code specifically says.
Yeah. But they stagger them so the handlebars.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing we kind of talked about is how do you determine if you have one parking spot and you can park 1 car in there or a pickup truck or whatever, but these guys are parking 4 and 5 motorcycles in that spot. So
the sheriff told me that you can't tell them that they can only park 1 vehicle per. That's the.
But there are jurisdictions that have done it, and they have a pass that says 1 vehicle per marked space.
The sheriff told us that they can't. That's not legal. The only way to do it is to have to charge for parking, and then it's 1 paid vehicle per space.
Well, that's what was going to be my next suggestion, is we put parking meters down there, and then we determine who's paying for the meter, and then the other 4 get a ticket.
Oh, and there again, it's an enforcement question. Who's going to write those tickets?
Just thinking, no mine. And I wouldn't have a right side anymore.
It's a problem, and I think we're going to have to get our heads together.
I think the business owner has to realize that we're not out to shut her down.
No.
I mean,
just asking her to be responsible.
Yeah.
Well, the level of complaints is just,
well,
it's getting out of
last
hand.
weekend they were drag racing down the 4th Street.
Yeah, they went by your house. They knew where you lived.
Yeah. Now they went by your house. He started at your.
That's where the green light is.
Yeah.
You know, one interesting thing that Darren told us this morning, when he went to work in Watsonville, there were 28 bars in a 3-block stretch along from Pajaro down towards downtown. And when he left, there was only 3.
What'd they do?
No, they
Flooded.
got him.
I was going to go back to that part.
ABC violations.
They adopted this alcohol ordinance.
ABC.
It took several years to do
Well, yeah, it took
but
20-some years.
Yeah, they did it aggressively by documenting illegal activities inside the bar, from cocaine and drugs to fighting and stabbing
And they started with the alcohol ordinance. I actually drafted that back about 20 years ago, and that was the first thing that was put into place there, was to allow them to gather the complaints and then close down the businesses.
But again, like I say, I don't want to shut mom and pops down, but we have to do something. I mean, I'm tired of getting phone calls at 6 o'clock on Saturday after evening, you know, that you got to do something about this. And I'm going, well, I could get my pickup truck and knock down about 100 of them, but I probably wouldn't survive by the time I got to the end. So.
You know, I don't think you could do that with your background.
You got tractors.
No, that would break my heart to do that. But no, it's.
All right, we'll look into it and we'll talk more about it.
Yeah.
And see if there's some type of resolution we can come to handle it and make everybody happy. All right, so that's
last on the agenda is we'll go back to the.
What am I doing with my agenda? Did you steal my agenda?
Did you just take mine?
Oh, yeah. Deborah wants to report on the Arco station.
Yes.
Yes.
What happened?
Okay, well, the judge finally set the briefing schedule on this matter, and the Accords brief is due at the end of May. And then the Dadwal's brief and the city's brief is due at the end of June. And they gave them till the end of July to do a response brief. And we're meeting, I believe, on August 8th to set a hearing on this matter. And the court's already looked at the calendar, and they think that the hearing's going to be sometime at the beginning of September. That's provided that everybody gets their briefing in on time.
Now, is the other side aware that that we want lost revenue, attorney fees, and?
Well, the problem I had here is that Dadwal's attorney agreed to this briefing schedule. And so there wasn't really anything we could do to move the briefing schedule forward. And the judge just adopted what the 2 attorneys agreed to.
Do we have, who's Accord? I mean, what is their standing?
You know, we don't really have an ability to go in and find out who the actual members of Accord are. We know that there's one gentleman there that said that he's a representative citizen. We know he lives in the city, and that may be the only member. We don't really have the ability, it's a writ, so you don't really have the ability to take a deposition of the petitioner, except in really extraordinary circumstances. And so that would be the only way we get in there to figure out who the actual people were bringing the lawsuit.
Well, they had to establish the word accord through some type of filing, right?
No.
You see this in CEQA cases all the time. It's never a person suing. They always invent some fake organization, and they don't have to be a nonprofit or registered in any way. They can just make up a name and sue under that name, as long as they have one person to step forward and say, yeah, I live in San Juan, and I appeared at the meetings, and I made these objections, and
So
that's all they need.
What kind of curveball can we throw back?
It used to be that that briefs were challenging the jurisdiction of groups, and we may still. I mean, they need to show that in their opening brief that they have the jurisdiction to bring this lawsuit. But we'll know a little more when they file their brief, because the brief that they filed had 275. I'm just saying that as a number, but it had multiple ways they could go on their brief. They left every avenue open, so they're going to have to narrow it down to what their issues are that they want to put in front of the court, and we'll know that at the end of May. And I will report back to you once we know a little more.
Okay, thank you. So who, when you have to serve their attorneys and that, who's their attorney and where are they?
Well, the attorney is the famous S&L law firm from San Francisco that brought the previous action against you. They've just kind of continuing this, and you'll recall they wanted $80,000 in attorney's fees on the previous action, and we narrowed them down, but there's still those attorney's fees out there where they've been processing this along and want to see if they can get their attorney's fees paid. So that's probably their motivation to continue to represent a court and to continue to bring this lawsuit.
Anything, Chris?
No, sir.
Tony?
Well, I'm like you, if we, not we, but, well, yeah, if we and they will win.
When we win. When we win.
Hey, in court you never, but we can turn around and sue them for our costs, right?
Yes, we can sue them for our costs, but not our attorney's fees. But you'll recall that there's there's an indemnification agreement, so Mr. Dadwall is paying for all the attorney's fees in this. And,
Yeah.
and if we lose, he's paying that bill, not the city. So, in that respect, we're off the hook to, come up with a big payment.
Too?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the first, the indemnification clause is the first clause in every
So that
permit.
would cover all
Yes.
the staff time?
No.
I
Not
can
staff
send
time.
them a bill for my time on this, and he could cover that as a separate attorney's fees bill.
Well, you're getting about $2,000 an hour, right?
Yeah, that's right.
When you work with them, give yourself a raise. All right, any more comments? Okay. I think we're ready for adjournment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Comments.
Are we on comments?
Yeah, we gotta go
No,
back.
we're in comments.
We gotta go back and
Well, I thought we were talking about the accord. I do have a comment unrelated to that, just under comments. I wanted to thank Matt for his service. He's been a tremendous asset
That ain't
to the
going nowhere.
city.
yeah.
And
You
had a
guys
lot
are
of interaction.
applauding a quitter.
No wonder we're getting sued, huh?
It's been a very great pleasure, and I will very much miss having you around.
Matt's not finished with us because
Understood.
he's still going to shepherd the general plan,
I understand.
which is deservedly, he's right on top of things.
Well, and I just want to say thank you guys. It's been a great opportunity. I mean, I initially signed on as a contract planner to work under an assistant planner, just with the general plan and with the pellet plant. And it's turned out to be so much more in a really good and complex way. I mean, I never realized there was so much going on in such a small city. So getting to work with everything from feral cats to conditional use permits to, everything that goes on here. It's been a really interesting and diverse set of challenges, and I think I'm better off for it. And I hope that I've left the city in a little bit better place as well. So I look forward to continuing to work with the EIR, which I just got this morning, and yeah, really, you haven't seen the end of me yet, even though I won't be here on a day-to-day basis.
Good.
So, thank you very much.
So when somebody
Thanks,
sees
Matt.
your resume and you have San Juan Batista listed on there, they automatically know you know it all. Because here you've done it all. Deborah, did you have any more? Okay, and we'll come back to council.
We need to resume, what is it,
What's the?
Regular meeting to May.
yeah, We adjourned
We
to a
didn't finish
time.
that?
The bond issue.
Yeah, you got to adjourn to a date.
We're going to
certain.
continue that to May 7th, which is also our budget
I thought
hearing.
we did do that.
No, we had to
No.
do it. We're
Because we're not-
adjourning.
We're not closing
Oh,
this
when
meeting, we're
okay.
just,
All right.
You have to adjourn.
That's a new one for me.
Adjourn this regular meeting to May the 7th.
yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
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 So we're adjourning this financing authority regular meeting to May 7th.
What's our time on that?
Oh, boy. So,
Yeah. 6.
got comments from the rest of the council?
I asked everybody. You want to stay?
I didn't make a motion to adjourn.
He did.
Is that what
He
we
did.
just voted on?
Yeah.
You slipped that right by me.